Hi, this is AMK. This is part 8 of my series into the Chris Benoit family murders. I'm probably going to have to break this part up into multiple videos. In this one, we're going to go over the residential phone information. We have a lot to get into today. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking in the intro. Let's just get to it. Okay, so in Detective Harper's report, he has this summary about the residential phone information. On June 26, 2007, which would be the Tuesday after the Monday that they went to the home for the welfare check, I also began receiving subpoenaed information in reference to the Benoit phone records from AT&T and Verizon. The information was used to assist in locating individuals who may have had contact with the Benoit family in the time leading up to June 25, 2007, as well as to assist us in developing a timeline of events. While checking the AT&T records, I learned the residential line was listed in the name of Nancy Benoit with a service address of 130 Green Meadow Lane in Fayetteville, Georgia. While analyzing the AT&T call detail, I located phone calls consistent with statements given by employees of AquaPro at 1988 Highway 54, West Peachtree City, Georgia. The employees stated the Benoit family called to ask if someone would clean their pool on Friday, June 22, 2007. The calls were made between 3:00 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. on June 22, 2007. Patrick Sterling, an employee of AquaPro, stated he called the Benoit residents prior to his arrival so they could put up the dogs. Sterling advised he routinely makes this type of call to the Benoit's home due to the dogs. So I just had this thought. Are the police really driving home this fact that Patrick says he routinely makes this type of call to have some sort of defense for them needing to call the neighbor to put up the dogs? Sterling advised he called the residents sometime between 4:30 p.m. and 5:30 p.m., and at that time he spoke with Nancy Benoit. Patrick Sterling advised he arrived at the Benoit home approximately 30 minutes after his phone call. Sterling stated he observed Christopher Benoit and his son Daniel Benoit outside cooking on the grill. Sterling advised he did not see Nancy Benoit while at the home, but we already established where Nancy was, and we went over that in part 7. A helper named Andrew Webb was also with Patrick Sterling while cleaning the Benoit pool. Webb stated he recalled Sterling calling the Benoit's home before they arrived so they could put their dogs up. So there again, it's like, just want to let you know, somebody else said that he called to put the dogs up. So it wasn't just us. Webb advised that while at the home, he met Chris Benoit for the first time. Webb stated Chris Benoit asked if it was possible for the pool to be cleaned on a day other than Friday in the future. Of course he did, because that's what you do when you're planning to rage murder your family and then commit suicide. You ask if you can have the pool cleaned in the future on a different day than Friday. Webb stated Chris Benoit and Daniel were dressed in their swimming trunks, and it appeared they had been swimming. Webb stated he also saw Benoit and Daniel cooking on the stainless grill on their back deck before they left the home. Now, in one of the very first episodes, I can't even remember which one it was, they said that they found a woman's bathing suit on the edge of a tub and also swimming trunks. And I said I wanted to know, were they adult swimming trunks or were they a boy's swimming trunks? Because I was trying to figure out, were they Daniel's? Because as you'll see when we get to the autopsy of Chris Benoit was wearing swimming trunks. So if the swimming trunks that were over the edge of that tub were not Daniel's, then my question is, who else was there that day? Because I don't know about you, but I can't tell you how many times I went to a friend's house that I didn't have a suit with me, but they, having a pool, had plenty of suits that I could borrow to wear. So you see where I'm going with that. On Friday, June 22nd at 5:39 p.m., AT&T records indicate that a call was placed from 404-200-9999 to the Benoit residence. This phone number is a phone carrier routing number and not the actual calling number. In some cases, the actual calling number is not identified. The duration showed as 18 seconds and code 066, which AT&T indicates is a cellular mobile carrier terminating code. The call shows as answered, and the duration of the phone call is consistent with Sterling's statement that he told Nancy Benoit he was on his way to clean the pool and asked her to put the dogs up. So don't forget, it wasn't just the police who had to ask somebody to take care of those terribly vicious dogs. This call is also consistent with the time Patrick Sterling from AquaPro advised he called the Benoit residence from his cellular phone. At 9:25 p.m. on Friday, June 22, 2007, a call was placed to 411 directory assistance from the Benoit residence. The phone call showed a length or duration of 1 minute and 8 seconds. AT&T was able to search their records and determine the caller received the phone number 770-460-4247 through an automated response. An internet search shows the number given. Oh, this is good. Shows the number given was listed to the Fayetteville Police Department and shows as the non-emergency line. The number shows the listed address as 105 Johnson Avenue, which is the old address of the Fayetteville Police Department. I attempted to reach someone at that number and no one answered. So, what the fuck was this about? Somebody at the Benoit home placed a directory-assisted call. Usually when you call directory assistance, you're like, hello, I need the number to wherever. There was nobody there to answer the phone because the number that was given was not the correct number anymore. It looks like it was the number to this old address of the Fayetteville Police Department. So who at the Benoit home was trying to get in touch with the police that day at 9:25 p.m. on Friday? Now remember, this would have been after they were grilling, after Nancy was at the store. It goes on to say, further investigation determined, if you're following along, I'm right here now, further investigation determined that none of the phones listed to the Benoit family called the Fayetteville Police non-emergency phone number after receiving it from the Automated Directory Assistance Service. It appears the number was obtained and not used, which is a good thing because there wouldn't have been anybody there to answer anyway. Maybe somebody wanted to get the number in case they would need it. But why? And then at 9:32 p.m., a phone call was placed from the Benoit residence to number redacted, and that number is Holly Schrepfer's cellular phone. The call had a length or duration of 5 seconds. Then at 9:33 p.m., phone records show a separate call as being placed from the Benoit residence to Holly Schrepfer's cellular phone, with a call length or duration of 4 seconds. These two calls were the last outgoing calls made from the Benoit residential phone. It goes on to say, these calls are consistent with the statements given by Holly Schrepfer. And we know this is true because we read through the statements in part 3. Schrepfer stated she received a phone call from, she believed, Nancy Benoit on Friday night but did not answer. The home phone does not show another incoming or outgoing call until Saturday, June 23rd at 3:01 p.m. The phone call shows as an incoming call from Holly Schrepfer's residence. The call length or duration shows as 9 minutes and 3 seconds. This phone call is consistent with the statement made by Holly Schrepfer saying she called Chris Benoit back after he left her a message that morning. According to Holly Schrepfer's statement, this call was when Chris advised her that Nancy and Daniel were sick and planned on laying low for a few days. The remaining incoming phone calls made to the home after 3:01 p.m. were unanswered. On Sunday, June 24, 2007, at 12:16 p.m., a message left on the Benoit's answering machine by Holly Schrepfer. This message was consistent with Schrepfer's statement that she called to check on the Benoit family. Holly Schrepfer stated she wanted to see if there was anything she could do to help Nancy since she had been told they were sick. Holly Schrepfer also knew Chris leaves for work on Sundays, offered to take him to the airport for Nancy. The calls into the home and the messages on the answering machine corroborate statements obtained from several subjects concerning the nature of the calls. Most of the incoming calls on Monday, June 25, 2007, were from people attempting to get in touch with Chris after he missed his wrestling appearances. While looking over the call detail information, I also located a phone call from the Benoit residence to Pam Clark. The call was made on Monday, June 18, 2007 at 4:09 p.m. The call duration is listed as 1 hour and 48 minutes. The call is consistent with Pam Clark's statement that she spoke for an extended period of time with Nancy on the Monday prior to her death. And all of that, again, is in part 3. Now, In the last video, the way I tried to do it was to go over these sections, and then I tried to scroll through the documents. And the video, if you watched it, you know the video was too long. I ran into all kinds of trouble getting it on YouTube. So I'm just gonna save myself the trouble, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I have these call logs. You will see them. I'm gonna put them on a separate video from this one, and I'm gonna do the same thing I did last time so I can try to get them on YouTube at the same time. So we're gonna move on now from here. We're going to keep going right down here into the Verizon phone information. This here, in reference to my request to Verizon Wireless for call detail and text messaging, I learned that Verizon would be unable to provide any text message detail. I read this and I thought, well, isn't that freaking convenient? Verizon Wireless advised, oh, poor Verizon. They experienced a problem with their equipment, which made them unable to produce any text message details. But they would provide date and times for text messaging. You know, thanks a lot, Verizon. In response to my request, Verizon Wireless produced call details for Verizon number redacted. This cellular phone number is listed under the name Christopher Benoit, but is used by Nancy Benoit. The records provided were incoming and outgoing call detail for the dates between June 1st, 2007 and June 26th, 2007, as well as text messaging dates and times. So they were able to provide the times the calls were made, whether they were incoming calls or outgoing calls, and that's it. Now, and this, why are they only wanting the records from June? Why? Why not go back 3 months, 6 months? I don't understand why the scope of this investigation was so narrow. And then why are there so many because I showed you about one grand jury in part 7 with the state of Georgia versus LNU. There's more in here than just that one. There's at least 3 on 3 separate dates with LNU, secret grand juries. What the F was going on here? From Tuesday, June 19th, 2007 through Friday, June 22nd, 2007, all of Nancy Benoit's incoming and outgoing phone calls are between Nancy and Chris Benoit's cellular phone, number redacted, Nancy and Kyle Burdig's cellular phone, number redacted, or Nancy and the Union City Hummer dealership. And then that number is not redacted. I don't know if that's still the number to the Hummer dealership, but if you're in the Union City area and you're looking for a Hummer, there you go. So Chris and Nancy were in the process of selling a Hummer they had owned prior to the purchase of the red one they currently use. When I contacted the Union City Hummer dealership, I learned the person helping the Benoits with the sale was Kyle Burdig. When I spoke with Burdig, he stated that he learned of the incident on the news and nothing during his dealings with Chris and Nancy made him feel as if something to this extreme was going to happen. So again, we have yet another random person interacting with the Benoits who said nothing during his dealings made him feel that anything like this was going to happen. So the last 2 phone calls made from Nancy Benoit's cellular phone were on Friday, June 22nd, 2007 at approximately 3:45 p.m. The calls were placed to the Benoit home phone and Chris Benoit's cellular phone. So Nancy, on her cell phone, calls to her home and calls her husband, Chris Benoit's cellular phone. And then Chris Benoit called Nancy's cellular phone back approximately 8 minutes later, and there was a connection time of just less than 5 minutes. These calls activated cell towers in the Peachtree City and Tyrone, Georgia. These activations are consistent with Nancy Benoit being away from the residence and shopping. According to American Express transaction information, there was a charge made at a Publix grocery store in Peachtree City on June 22, 2007. A copy of the transaction receipt from Publix confirmed the transaction, which occurred at 5:17 p.m. The receipt detailed the items purchased, which appeared to be consistent with Patrick Sterling's statement that he saw Chris and Daniel cooking out. And I showed you that receipt in part 7. The Publix is close enough to the Benoit home that Nancy would have been able to make the transaction and return home in time to answer the phone call from Patrick Sterling at 5:39 p.m. Publix employees who are familiar with Nancy Benoit recalled Nancy shopping June 22, 2007, and she was alone. The remaining calls appear to be friends attempting to get in touch with Nancy starting Sunday, June 24th, 2007 at approximately 4:30 p.m. I also received call details for a Verizon number redacted. This phone is listed to and used by Christopher Benoit. The records provided were incoming and outgoing call detail for the dates between June 1st, 2007 and June 26th, 2007, as well as text messaging dates and times. But again, why the narrow scope? While checking Chris Benoit's cellular phone records, I noticed numerous calls on Friday, June 22, 2007. The calls appeared to be normal activity and involved calls to his home and other wrestlers or friends. At 12:27 p.m. on Friday, June 22nd, Chris Benoit spoke with his friend Robert Hardcore Holly Howard. Mr. Howard stated that he sometimes ride with and works out with Chris Benoit. Howard stated Chris sounded normal during their conversation on Friday. Here again, he sounded normal during their conversation on Friday. Howard advised he knew of a fight between Chris and Nancy a few weeks prior to this incident in which Chris stayed in a hotel for a short time. Howard advised he got a call from Benoit advising he had gotten, quote, fucked up in the hotel and assumed he was talking about a mixture of alcohol and pills. Now, I don't know about the alcohol, but I do know they had a lot of pills. Howard stated he knew Chris took Lorcet and Soma. Howard also advised he knew Chris would consume alcohol from time to time. I don't necessarily know that to be true. I'm not claiming to know any better than Hardcore Holly, but I've seen and heard interviews with other people where they say he was not a drinker. Does that mean that he didn't go on a bender once in a while when shit got real? I don't know, but regardless, we do know that both Chris and Nancy were taking a lot of prescription medication, and you'll find information about that in Part 5, the search warrant. Howard stated that during the conversation he asked about Nancy, and Chris told him she had been acting like Hitler, but they had worked things out and everything was fine. Howard stated, again, he never thought anything like what had been described would happen. And of course, you don't ever want to assume that you think any of your friends are homicidal maniacs until they are. And then at that point, usually people say they had some signs. For example, just watch a documentary about the O.J. Simpson murders, and you will find so many people knew that he was beating the crap out of Nicole and knew that if she stayed with him, he would kill her. People just knew that. They maybe wouldn't have said it to her face at the time. Maybe they did. But look what happened. And O.J. Simpson still has his life. Maybe not as great as a life as he would have had, but he still has his life. And I don't mean as in he's alive. I mean, people aren't blacklisting other members of his family because of what is pretty obvious he did. And I just have to say, from what I see with this Benoit incident, although it looks like a double homicide suicide, I'm not so sure the evidence that they collected during this investigation proves that beyond a reasonable doubt. That's all I'm saying. Okay, but we have so much more to get through just with this phone information. I really need to stop interjecting all the time with my comments. So let's keep going. The cellular tower activations for phone calls originating and terminating at Chris Benoit's cellular phone on Friday, June 22nd were consistent with Chris traveling to Carrollton, Georgia to see Dr. Aston and then back to the Noonan area where he was observed eating lunch at a Moe's Grill. Chris Benoit also had medication prescriptions filled in Noonan, and we know that to be true because they found the prescription bottle dated June 22nd in the Benoit home after they had gotten the search warrant. So we know that that's true. The cellular tower activations show that Chris Benoit traveled from the Noonan area to the area of Peachtree City on his way to a planned meeting with Raymond Raleigh, who makes Benoit's wrestling pants. And we went over that in one of the parts to part 6, and I showed you the check, the canceled check. But what I didn't tell you is, later on, further down in these documents, there's another grand jury subpoena for information from Wachovia where they requested information with that check number specifically to be used at a grand jury in, I believe, December 2007. State of Georgia versus FNU LNU. So are they suspicious that maybe there was some steroid drugs being exchanged there? I'm really interested in knowing what these grand jury cases were about, because I think maybe that had something to do with why they don't want anybody to talk about this anymore, and why WWE is, basically blacklisting Benoit and Nancy and David. Maybe FNU LNU is the WWE, or maybe it's Vince McMahon. I'm not accusing anyone of anything, but I showed you what a grand jury is all about, so maybe I'll put that up on the screen here again, because it sounds like it's some pretty serious shit, and it sounds like it has to do with some very powerful corporations or people, which is why their name is kept secret. That's just my thought. According to a statement made by Raymond Raleigh, Raleigh advised he met with Chris at approximately 1:45 p.m. at the Peachtree City Tyrone exit off I-85. Raleigh advised Chris paid him $650 for wrestling tights that he made for Chris and another wrestler. Raleigh advised nothing appeared out of the ordinary with Benoit, and he did not act any different than their prior meetings. So there you go. At approximately 3:15 p.m. on June 22, 2007, Benoit used his cellular phone to look up the phone number for AquaPro. At 3:54 p.m. on Friday, a call was placed to AquaPro from Benoit's cellular phone with a connection time in excess of 2 minutes. It appears that the service call to clean the pool was set up at this time. Chris Benoit also called Kyle Burdig, that was the guy from the Hummer dealership, and Chavito Guerrero on Friday afternoon. On Saturday, June 23rd, after the estimated time of death for Nancy Benoit, Chris Benoit called the home of Holly Schrepfer. I just want to say one more thing. Remember, it was warmer in that room where Nancy was found. The call was made at 8:30 a.m., and Chris left a message for Schrepfer wanting to know if Daniel was supposed to be at the horse riding camp that morning. The message advised that Daniel would be unable to make it due to being sick. Adding to the estimated time of death for Nancy Benoit was the fact that Nancy would have known if Daniel needed to be at camp that morning had she been alive. Well, my thought on this is, if it's true that she had food poisoning, maybe she was sleeping in, and maybe Chris was just trying to be a responsible partner and father. Just a thought. It is believed that Daniel was more likely deceased by the time this phone call was made as well. Okay. Debatable, but moving on. On Saturday, June 23rd, after the approximate time of death for Nancy and Daniel Benoit, Chris makes and receives several phone calls. At no point during these calls does he ever mention their deaths, and continues to explain his family is sick. And I just find this statement silly, because supposing he did murder them, what is he going to say? Hey, Chavo, guess what I did today? And I'm sorry I'm making jokes about this. It's really not funny, but man, during the day on Saturday, Chris Benoit attempted to get in touch with his new friend, Michael Parker. Parker had only been with the WWE for a couple of months and had become friends with Benoit. And I couldn't find anything about who Michael Parker is, so if anybody knows, please comment down below. Parker stated he did not answer the phone call from Chris Benoit that Saturday, but Benoit left him a message. Parker provided me with his access code to review the voicemail. The message from Benoit, left at approximately 1:57 p.m., advised that Chris had heard about Parker getting shafted recently in some type of dealings at work and wanted to let Parker know he would help any way he could. During one point in the voicemail, Chris Benoit begins to fumble his words a little and states he is just talking shit and doesn't know all the details about Parker's situation. Benoit ends the message somewhat upbeat, telling Parker to get back in touch with him when he gets a chance. And I have audio of this voicemail, and I will play that at the end of the video as the outro. But let's keep going. Chris Benoit also called his friend and travel partner Scott James, which we already figured out. Scott James and Scott Armstrong, that is mentioned in Dark Side of the Ring, they're the same person. So Chris calls him, Scott James, on Saturday, June 23rd, several times during the day. In a statement made by Scott James, he advised he spoke with Chris Benoit several times on Saturday, June 23rd. James says they spoke about rental car and hotel room arrangements. James stated that Chris told him that Nancy and Daniel were sick and he may be late for the next show, but he would be there. I just had a thought. Nancy bought all these groceries at that Publix, and then they had a cookout. Did anybody else get sick from any food from that Publix grocery store? You know how sometimes you hear about like a salmonella outbreak in salad being sold at like a giant food store or something like that? Wonder if anything like that happened around this time with the Publix. Something to look into. I wonder if any of the police bothered to look into that. And we again have Scott James saying Chris Benoit never made any comment that would have made him think something terrible had happened. But again, what's he gonna say? Whether he did it or not, is he gonna say, "Oh, Scott, I'm late because I just killed Nancy," or "Scott, I'm late because Nancy's dead. She's tied up upstairs"? It just seems silly. Of course he's not going to say anything. I think what's more important to notice here is his demeanor. Like, people keep saying he was acting fine. Scott James advised later that night, early Sunday morning, he began receiving text messages from Chris and Nancy Benoit's cellular phones. So this is where it gets weird, because that's when those messages come. The exact same time, the exact same wording from both Chris and Nancy's phone, which I think is weird. On June 23rd, 2007, Chris Benoit also talked to his good friend Chavito Chavo Guerrero. Guerrero stated he had stayed with Chris and Nancy at their home earlier in the week while traveling for a wrestling event. Guerrero advised nothing appeared out of the ordinary when he was there. But another thought, what if somebody had a problem with Chavito Chavo Guerrero and knew he had been staying with Chris and Nancy at their home? Did anybody look into this in the Fayetteville police? I kinda doubt it. Guerrero advised Chris Benoit left him a message on Saturday, June 23rd, saying he overslept and missed his flight. Guerrero stated when he spoke with Benoit later in the day, they talked about the upcoming wrestling event and their travel arrangements. Guerrero commented that Benoit sounded a little strange or depressed while they spoke. All right, so Chavito Guerrero is the first one saying, yeah, he sounded a little strange. You know, what if? What if? Guerrero advised that after hanging up, he called Benoit right back and asked him if he was okay. Guerrero advised Benoit said he was just upset and tired due to Nancy and Daniel being sick with food poisoning. Guerrero stated he was surprised when Chris Benoit missed the show after speaking with him. Guerrero advised it was definitely not like Chris to miss a show, which just to me reinforces my claim that the police should not have let the neighbor go into that house alone. Sure, they didn't expect to be walking in to find dead bodies, but they had no way of ensuring that neighbor's safety, and that was crap. Guerrero advised he began receiving text messages from Chris and Nancy's phone early Sunday morning, advising Benoit's dogs were outside and his street address. So again, we have Scott Armstrong and Chavo Guerrero getting these messages from both Chris and Nancy's cellular phones saying the exact same thing. Very strange. Guerrero contacted their employer, which would be the WWE, on Monday, June 25th, 2007, to tell them about the text messages after he was unable to get in touch with Chris or Nancy on Sunday, June 24th, which I also think is strange because if Benoit didn't show up to this show, don't you think somebody from the WWE would have called out to get in touch with him? Why did it take until Chavo Guerrero on Monday following the pay-per-view event to tell them about these strange text messages, which then prompted the WWE to call the 911 in Fayetteville? Something doesn't make sense here. Guerrero stated he thought Chris Benoit was doing much better than in the past, so I'm not sure what that means. What was he like in the past? Guerrero recalled several months ago when Chris took 4 months off work. Guerrero stated Chris felt so much better during his time off and commented that he did not need coffee and amphetamines to get up and go in the morning. This here is the first I'm hearing of any amphetamines, which would be like Adderall, or I don't remember when they banned the over-the-counter diet amphetamines. I have to look that up what year that was, but I think that was in the late 90s or the early 2000s. But they didn't find any prescriptions for any amphetamines in the home. They did find something called 222 pills. I'll put a screenshot of what that is right here now, but I don't believe that falls under the category of amphetamine. But this makes me wonder, did Chris feel so much better during his time off because he was at home with his wife and his young son? Guerrero advised that in the previous weeks since Chris had been back to work, he noticed Chris Benoit buying amphetamine pills again. So again, buying them makes me feel like he's buying them over the counter or buying them off somebody who has a prescription. So I'm going to need to look into when over-the-counter diet, like ephedrine, when that was banned. And then I'll put a shot of that up next to this. Guerrero stated nothing leading up to June 25th made him feel that Chris Benoit would have killed his family and taken his own life. Guerrero advised that during his stay with the family, he did not see any problems. Well, all right. And when did Chavo stay with the Benoits? Earlier in the week, before they were murdered. And then now we're down at Delta Airlines. I don't know how long this is gonna come out just reading through this, so I might end it here and then do what I did last time, upload this and then delete it, and then record the next part, because there is a lot to go over in this part. I still need to go over the section of the text messages, so... Alright, to end this one, we're going to listen to the voicemail that we mentioned earlier between Chris Benoit and Michael Parker. In the next part, we're going to look at the text message information and what they found when they looked at that. Thank you for watching. This has been AMK. I hope you have a great day. Bye!
Hey Parker, this is Benoit again. It's about 5 to 2 in the afternoon. So I'm bullshit with you, man. Find out what happened. I was talking to one of the production crew guys on the flight home into Atlanta. He said you kind of got shafted over, and that really fucking sucks. But, you know, if there's anything I can do at all, man, please give me a call and let me know. And, you know, fuck, and, you know, nothing changed the experience. Like, nothing could be better than experience, and you got that. It's like, you know, I'm talking shit right now. I don't know what the details are off the top of my head, but hope all's well with you, man, and just missed you the last couple of weeks. Wondering where you're at. I hope you're doing well. If you can, when you get the chance, give me a call. Take care, man. Hope all's well. Bye.